One final voice-to-voice of the Florida State football season. Ryan Kelly, that's not Jeff Culhane, that is Dominic. Miranda, however, he got to watch the game firsthand for the press box. And boy, everybody who was here at Camping World Stadium in Orlando, whether you paid or not, you still got your money's worth. An absolute classic between Florida State and Oklahoma, 32-35, your final score.
I mean, listen, the first half was entertaining, no question about it. Some mistakes made both sides, but that second half of football, my goodness, you couldn't get up and go to the restroom, you couldn't blink, you couldn't put out a tweet if you were in the press box because someone was scoring. Oklahoma, unstoppable, rushing the football. Florida State, unstoppable, throwing the football. Both these teams, haymaker after haymaker. What a game we got a chance to watch.
And Dom, I've got to tell you, right off the top, what you said there. The first half looked like two teams that hadn't played football in a month, as bowl games can go at times. Mm-hmm. But that second half, that looks like everything you want when FSU and OU get together. High-level athletes playing a big-time game, playing in beautiful weather where you know there's not going to be any elements, any factor, speed flying up and down, plenty of power in the trenches, and both teams exchanged their haymakers. You got it. This was a game of exchange shots. Florida State took that lead right out of the second half after forcing a punt from Oklahoma. Oklahoma responded immediately, and they just traded back and forth, back and forth. Our buddy Ken, who's a photographer for one of the local papers in our area, I told him, I said, here's my game-changing analysis of this game. I told him that with about 5 minutes left. I said, just be the last team with the football. And it turns out you didn't need to be.
Man, that was what I was thinking up there because seriously, in that second half, nobody could stop anybody. And it was so interesting to see how, like I said, for Oklahoma, 250 yards rushing the ball. Not great if you're Florida State. Couldn't stop a nosebleed. On the other side, Oklahoma could not figure out Jordan Travis to Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson, upwards of 200 yards receiving on just 8 catches. Pokey Wilson getting free. Jordan Travis just slinging it, extremely accurate. Could escape when he needed to.
Trayshawn Ward, the guy that ends up finding the end zone for you in key situations.
Trayshawn Ward, clutch gene. Talk about 2 huge runs for him, 2 huge touchdowns in this game. But what an entertaining game. You got your money's worth, but Florida State, I think it epitomizes the way this season has gone, winning in different ways. We saw in that 5-game win streak to end the season, they hammered some teams, hammered Syracuse, hammered Miami. But then when offense was necessary and a close win and making plays down the stretch in a tight game in the final 2 minutes, Florida, and now this game against Oklahoma, they got it done. 6 straight wins to end the season, their first 10-win season since 2016, first bowl win since 2017. Monumental, I don't think it's too strong to say. From where it started, where Mike Norvell took over this program to now, what a win for this program.
Here's the thing. If I took Oklahoma's record away, and I told you at the beginning of the season, you're going to be playing in a big-time bowl in Orlando, you're going to be playing just a couple days before New Year's, you're going to be playing in one of those bowl games after Christmas, which is always what you want to do. You're going to be playing the Oklahoma Sooners. You're going to be doing that with a chance at a 10-win season that, by the way, includes wins against LSU, Miami, Florida, and then you do get the win against OU. Yeah, I think every Florida State fan, considering the expectations going into this season, would take that in an absolute heartbeat because we talked a little bit about this on TV last night. It's a reset of expectations to what Florida State should be. It's all about that climb. Florida State climbing up the mountain of expectation back to where you want Florida State to be. Back in the ACC conversation, back in the college football playoff, the national title conversation. That all starts with you just getting better, with you just getting to bowl games. And not only did you get to a bowl game, you got to a big one. You got to double-digit wins. You knocked off a team that clearly felt like they had something to prove, and you got up off the mat to do it after playing a really up-and-down 30 minutes of football.
Yeah, a team that's much better than their 6-6 record said. Their last 5 games decided by 1 possession. Easily could have gone differently for Oklahoma. And like you said, going into the season, you and I talked before the season. We said 8-5. We'd be thrilled. We'd be thrilled. 8-5, win your bowl game. Here we are, 10-3, just a tick below a New Year's 6, like you said. It's that resetting the expectations, like you said. And Mike Norvell's message has not wavered since he came on campus at FSU, getting better. 5 wins last year, a loss to an FCS team. Worst loss arguably in Florida State history. Message did not change. Mike Norvell's demeanor didn't change. The belief in the program didn't change. And he even said in the post-game press conference on Thursday evening, we want to get back to that standard. He said it once, he'll say it a million times. We have to get back to that standard of Florida State. As he reaffirmed his belief in Florida State, he said it's the best place. It is one of the most remarkable places to be a head coach in college football. And you can tell he truly believes that. And he wants this team perennially 10 wins, perennially college football playoff, New Year's 6 bowls. And man, it feels like we have the right guy to do it.
And really, to me, the most underrated piece of I about said the Chick-fil-A Bowl, the Cheez-It Bowl, the biggest wrap-up, the biggest thing that you could say, that's a culture. That's something that's built. Think about the guys who are in the portal right now, who in just a couple days are probably going to talk about where they're going next, where they're leaving from Florida State. Amari Gaynor immediately comes to mind. You've got guys in that running back room. You've got guys like Jared Verse, who at least at the time of this recording on Thursday night, have not put out what their intentions are. So many guys may be moving on, maybe going to different schools, maybe dipping their toe in the waters of the NFL. In this game, you could tell on the field, I'm going to put some video over this when we edit this in post, how much this meant to them. I mean, we're talking about guys who will be leaving and going to different schools in a matter of weeks, in a matter of days, getting enrollment, and it meant everything to them to play for Florida State one last time, put on the garnet and gold one last time, and get win number 10.
Guys that could have opted out didn't. Guys who transferred, it was amicable. On Twitter, Mike Norvell endorsing these players
guys
to go to other schools, saying about their character, how great it is, what great players they are. That's not normal in today's college football. Another thing about
it's very transactional.
It's 100%. With NIL, with recruiting is now. This kind of culture doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. This is Mike Norvell keeping his message the same. Another point to that culture that you mentioned, Ryan, late in the game on that game-winning drive, game-winning kick by Ryan Fitzgerald, which, by the way, what a great feeling that had to be for Ryan Fitzgerald. Mike Norvell mentioned it. He's gone through his challenges this season, and for him to answer the bell, no worries. Knocked it through, gets the win. Really happy for that kid. Jazz Turntine goes down.
Oof.
Bad injury. You can tell he's in pain. Long time, gets the card out. They card him off. Every single player on that sideline came and gave him love before he went to the field. That is culture. I believe Danny Cannell, our guy Danny Cannell, tweeted that. That's what culture looks like. It's not phony with Mike Norvell. It's not phony with this Florida State football team, or else guys would have opted out. Jared Verse is projected to be a first-round draft pick. He could have opted out if he wanted to. Jamie Robinson has an NFL future. They didn't. They played. They got beat up. That was a physical football game, and they got the win. That was really awesome to see.
And I think... Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, and Turntine has only been in the program one season.
Yeah.
And he came in the summer. He hasn't been here a long time. They love him, and he can feel that, and they feel, and you can just see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned something there to kind of change the topic here for a second. I was surprised at how physical this football game was.
Wasn't it?
Oklahoma, of course, gets that, I guess, rap of being a very finesse football team, a team that doesn't like to get socked in the mouth a lot. They came here to play football. You got to give Brent Venables and staff a ton of credit. That did not look like a 6-6 ball team. That did not look like the team that got embarrassed by Texas in the Red River Shootout. This is a team that absolutely came to play. I don't know what the future will hold for OU. I don't know what the future will hold for Brent, but boy, he had them ready to play last night.
Yeah, no question about it. He said, listen, people are going to judge us on our 6-7 record. That's fine. I know what I have in the locker room. This is Brent Venables talking. And listen, Dylan Gabriel was special on Thursday night. My goodness, he was escaping. That first half, Florida State was getting pressure nearly every single down, escaping. 10-yard game, first down on a 3rd and long.
The third downs,
the
to
third
me, is
downs,
what was
they couldn't get off
absolutely...
the field. And listen, to that physicality point too, Oklahoma dominated the offensive line of scrimmage, at least. I mean,
100%.
they were pushing. I mean, the running backs weren't getting contact until 3, 4, 5 yards off the ball, and that speaks to the 250 yards rushing they had. To your point about Brent Venables in Oklahoma, I do think they're trending in the right direction, and it's a different culture. I mean, you went from Lincoln Riley to Brent Venables. You talk about polar opposites.
And really Bob Stoops before
and really
that.
Bob Stoops
offense,
before
offense,
that.
offense.
You talk about a different culture and just a different way you run things. Brent Venables, I think he'll be just fine. But, man, what an entertaining football game. Florida State didn't play their best.
No.
They did not play their best, but they
no.
got it. I just keep coming back to this. They got it done, and, man, that wasn't the case last year. A lot of the same players wasn't the case last year. And to see that growth, that has to be so encouraging for Florida State, for Michael Alford, for Mike Norvell, for these players that if we listen to what Mike Norvell is saying, he's not a bull crapper, right?
No.
If we listen to him, things will start to come to fruition, and he truly cares about him. It's cool to see.
We're for that kid who just scored his first goal. We're for the new hire who's just looking to fit in. We're for that person who's impossible to shop for. We're for congratulating you on all your years of hard work. We're awards for you, and we're for helping you celebrate life's special moments.
Madison RV and Golf Resort is a camper and golfer's dream. We invite you to come stay with us, play our challenging layout, 18 tee boxes and 9 championship holes, rolling terrain, and a golf training facility. Catch and release fish, relax in our new pool or play pickleball. Madison RV and Golf Resort is the perfect location to enjoy the outdoors in a relaxing, fresh air atmosphere. Madison RV and Golf Resort, Madison, Florida, just off I-10. Reserve your spot today. MadisonRVResort.com.
One thing, and I'll say this as a disclaimer in case I sound silly here. Sometimes when you're shooting on the field like I do to shoot highlights for this game, you don't get the best feel for how things are shifting because you're looking through a viewfinder all the time. I was floored to go back and see, listen, I knew that they'd hit some big passes, especially to Johnny Wilson, but you look at the end of the day, 2 touchdowns and 418 yards through the air for Jordan Travis. A day where, sometimes it felt like the decisions could have been a little bit better. Maybe needed to take it off and run early on. That 4th down where he throws the pick comes to mind. At least from the field perspective, I haven't had a chance to look at the up-top view yet, but it certainly seemed like he could maybe sneak through the tackle on the guard there and pick up that 1st down. There were a couple decisions I felt like he forced early on, but yet he made the plays when you needed to, especially there at the end. The throw to Johnny Wilson to set up that field goal is gorgeous.
Oh my goodness.
And at the end of the day, he ends up being your bowl MVP.
Yeah, and let's talk about Johnny Wilson for a second. 8 receptions, 202 yards receiving, the go-to guy. He had some drops, but listen, and on that interception, Jordan Travis was most certainly trying to force it to his guy that he was trusting in this specific game. No question about that. 2 4th downs, 0 for 2 on 4th downs Thursday night for Florida State. Stretch run, and then that force didn't end up mattering. All that matters is a win. But to your point, I get what you're saying about shooting games because up in the press box, the momentum shifted no less than 15 times in this game. I mean, it was...
You could just feel it in the crowd because it was a home game for Florida State. And when the crowd was going, you could feel it. When they weren't going, you could feel it.
Kudos to the Garnet and Gold faithful. That atmosphere was awesome. It was so loud. The war chant is still echoing throughout the streets of Orlando. My goodness, that was awesome. 60,000 plus.
Probably a little slurred on Church Street right now. But
a little bit, but hey, it's celebratory. It doesn't matter. But listen, to your point, Jordan Travis answered the call. Short memory with the interception. Short memory if things went wrong. Short memory with drops. That throw to Johnny Wilson and that catch by Johnny Wilson on that final drive. One-handed 58-yard gain. Special. Seeing guys work pay off. Special. Running back room has carried this team. Tonight, they didn't, but they made the plays when they needed to. Trey Benson did, out of the backfield, receiving and running. Treshaun Ward, fantastic. And Jordan Travis, of course, getting yards on the ground when he needed to. But man, does he look good throwing the football. From when he started as a freshman, you saw him, to now. What an improvement.
Well, I mean, Willie Taggart's staff wouldn't let him throw the football. They were so worried about what he would do with that ball in his hands. Kendall Briles and company, of course, Kendall loves to sling it. And with that guy, it was, and to see now a guy who people are legitimately talking about will be one of, on the Heisman shortlist next year, will be a guy who will get preseason accolades and be on preseason award watch list. That feels impossible from the kid that transferred to Louisville after the 2018 season, but it shows the commitment to the program and the commitment to get things done. Finally on the game here, Dom, I did want to bring this up. No phase of Florida State's played perfect in the Cheez-It Bowl. I mean, the offense had turnovers. The running game was spotty. The passes that were dropped by Johnny Wilson, some of the decision-making from Jordan Travis. The defense was gashed by the run all night long. Dylan Gabriel, Dylan Gabriel's slippery. He's real slippery. But it just seemed like every time they needed a big play until the very end when you get the sack, they got it. The special teams, Ryan Fitzgerald misses a field goal there right before the halftime. No phase played perfect, but they did play complimentary. Every time it was needed, they got it. Hey, the defense needs a stop at the end of the game after the offense and special teams just gave you the game-winning score. You got it. Hey, the defense just gave you a turnover. They just coughed up the ball. Jamie Robinson's fell on it. Offense, you need to get us points. You get a touchdown to take the lead in this football game. Everything that Florida State needed when they needed it the most, another unit was ready to pick you up.
Yeah, no question. And with the offense, too, so many times they could have folded. So many times they tied the game, then took the lead. Then the game was tied, then Oklahoma took the lead. That happened 2 or 3 times, so many times where the air was sucked out of the building because it was a virtual home game for Florida State, and they just kept grinding. They just kept going. They just kept churning, and they got it done. And it just speaks to, again, the culture. I know we keep saying it, but you just wouldn't have seen that in years past. You certainly wouldn't have seen it even last year when they were on this climb, and they just weren't phased. And you're absolutely right. They played complementary football. Did the defense play great? No. Did they get the stop when they need to and the sacks when they need to? And key possessions where Oklahoma would get into plus territory and a sack or two by Jared Verse or, XYZ made Oklahoma get out of field goal range. I mean, those are plays that aren't in the stat sheet, but are huge for the momentum of the game. The game changed when Jared Verse knocked virtually the Oklahoma running back out in the first half before he even, almost right after he got the handoff. This place went crazy, knocked Oklahoma way back for a long field goal. He missed it, and from there, I felt like the momentum was in Florida State's favor, and they finally like, all right, take a deep breath, we're fine, and then it was an instant classic the rest of the way.
Shutting the book on this game, there are crews hard at work behind us right now on Thursday night. They're getting ready to clear this field for the Citrus Bowl. Maybe you know the team that's playing there. It's the LSU Tigers. They'll be right back here with the Garnet and Gold week 1 next season. I believe that game is already scheduled for a Sunday. There's going to be so much hype surrounding both of those programs, win or lose for LSU. And of course, win or lose for Florida State. I think some of that momentum still would have carried. There would have been a lot of people still talking about the Noles even had they come up short in this game. There's a long way to go till we get to the beginning of September.
Well, why not
next
talk
year.
about it?
But for the next 9 months, the hype you're going to hear surrounding this program is gigantic. And it's the type of hype that gets welcomed in Tallahassee. It's the type of hype that gets welcomed surrounding the Florida State football program. But boy, howdy, I think there's going to be a lot of people counting the days, the months, the weeks, the minutes, the milliseconds until, as Jeff Culhane would say, the boot meets the ball here in the city. Beautiful.
Listen, I'm no Jeff Culhane, but I can tell you this. Both these programs this season exceeded expectations. First year under Brian Kelly, he had what was viewed as quite the, maybe not a rebuild, but a retool perhaps. I mean, the culture was not good down in Baton Rouge. They far exceeded expectations. At one point were considered for the college football playoff. And Florida State, I mean, we just talked at the top of this, we would have been thrilled with 8-5, 10-3. A lot of firsts.
And you're a South Carolina Clemson upset away from being in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, 100%, and which would have been awesome, by the way. But this was an awesome experience. But 10 wins for the first time since 2016. We mentioned it. First bowl win since 2017. Get those monkeys off your back and get this program back to where it is. That's where the expectation comes from. That's what Mike Norvell has talked about. That's what we have talked about in the midst of what we're doing right now. Way too early top 10. I have a strong feeling both these teams are going to be in it. A lot of players are returning for Florida State. A lot of key players returning for LSU. That game is going to have massive implications down the stretch of 2023. I do not think that's a stretch to say.
We played that game in New Orleans, and so many people thought, boy, both of these programs have light years to go. No, you watched a heavyweight fight. You just didn't know it. Yeah. Both of these teams did get better as the season went along as well. But, man, cannot wait to see what that's going to be come Labor Day weekend.
And if that atmosphere is anything like, if this was a teaser, there's 60,000 plus, and the atmosphere is unbelievable, I have a feeling that atmosphere will dwarf this one, and that's saying a lot.
Well, a 2022 football season in the books. It feels like it went by just like that.
Oh my goodness!
But now, basketball season is going to go by just like that, and you know what that means? Spring ball is coming right around.
Hey, that's right. Listen. This was an extremely fun season to cover with Florida State. It's really cool to see where they are from where they've been. It was a pleasure, partner, doing it all year.
Absolutely. Lots of great things in 2022, and now Florida State hoping and expecting, and boy, it's been a long time since you could say expecting great things in 2023.